Oh yeah. Morning, morning. Oh yeah. All right. Let's do this. Hot damn. All right, all right, all right, all right. Let's get to work, people. The red, white, and blue. What's up, baby? Yo, bros, non bros. Como? Hey, 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 hey. Oh, Mike. All right. Let's get ready to do this. We got things to do. All right, all right. Good to see everybody. Let's get to work. We got to do Gap City in the market in semiconductors. This is where the heat's going to be today. Um Dude, be nice if they save some of that heat for us. TSM's got some news out, and it's earnings, I believe. So this thing is off to the races. This thing has gapped up quite a few times on earnings now. In the last handful of years, one of the big runs started over here. In the semiconductors, and so it's been. Obviously, it's been in a huge trend for up 300% the last year and a half. And here we go again. So this should be a little bit of a spark, in the semiconductors. I mean, shit. It's a flat top breakout, right? One test, two tests, three tests. You're breaking out of range. That's really all you can ask for, right? So now all right. We can ignore like a lot of the other stuff, right? Like the IWM is probably going to take a little bit of a rest day today. You've had a bunch of huge days going into resistance. And so, maybe we'll get a little bit of a switch over. You can see the SPY is also flagging out. The market, guys, is in all systems is go. And we've been talking about this for, quite some time. Whenever you have the 9 EMA, the 20 SMA, the 50, the 200, all pointing higher. When your bone zone opens up green like this, right? When the 9's above the 20, that is the holy grail of trading, because frankly, you might even make more money as a swing trader than even a day trader during these markets. It's you're going to make money at both. Investors are making money, day traders are making money, and the swing traders are making money. Where that's not always the case, right? Like, for example, if the market was in a big downtrend, investors are losing money, swing traders are probably losing money, and day traders are making money, right? So you have like different kind of, different market conditions. But this is your Goldilocks zone market where everything tends to work. And you also get a lot of positive reaction to even very basic news, right? So even even the most basic news can send stocks going really, really hard when you are in this kind of, big uptrend. Where if you're in a downtrend like here, you could have the best piece of news out. You could have all this stuff going, and it may not matter. It's just, right, that's the market condition. And like good news gets sold off, good news is bad news, so on and so forth. And so we're in the opposite of that. So this is a great time if you're learning how to trade. It's a great time to learn. If you are, dude, if you're an experienced trader, then this is right. This is your time to stack it. You got like 2-3 months out of the year where you just like stack, 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 and we're in those right now. So just kind of be a little bit mindful of those things. And then let's roll here. So Q's looks good. SPY look buenos. IWM is creeping up too. Now, this one's up a lot of days in a row, so be careful on this one. Let's get into the PR plays and see what else we have going on. I mean, it's a bonanza for the most part. So let's get in and let's get a little bit juicy. Let's get a little bit saucy. So after you look at the indexes, first thing that you want to do is what? You want to look and see what type of PRs are out, right? You want to see, right, what type of news is coming out today so that you can just have, so you're not getting hit with any booby traps or, anything like that. So if we switch over for a hot second, right, we had jobless claims, retail sales, Fed, blah, 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 manufacturing index. These jobless claims usually do put a little perk in the market, but beyond that, there's not much. This Goolsby guy doesn't do shit. Jobless claims, blah blah blah. So commodities all flat. Now let's take a look here and see if we got any upgrades or anything like that. You always want to check the upgrade list, and the reason is it doesn't matter for a majority of companies, but if you get like a big name company and it's upgraded by one of the major banks, that's usually a good catalyst for that day. You'll have a stock that gaps up and it'll actually, in a good market, it'll follow through and it'll go for like a decent period of the day. So always keep an eye on this, but you can see this is all just junk, 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 junk. Hey, this lack may be something here because that's like a really good chart. So we'll come back to that because I do like that chart. And then downgrades, boom, 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 settings. Settings always getting some Ubers, a neutral. So we got nothing really on that side. Now, a couple things to just be mindful of as you go through this. We are just starting up earnings season, right? We are just starting up earnings season. So TSM today, right? TSM had this big pop. So that's because of earnings. And we're going to start getting a few more companies every day before we really get into the teeth of it. And so we're just starting. Earnings season is like the best time to trade because you have this 3 to 4 weeks, maybe a little bit less, where they're starting to come out, and you're going to get stocks that just are rampaging on PRs all over the place. So when it's not earnings season, and say the market is like just stuck in a range or something like that, oftentimes you lack that kind of that we need inside stocks. Like you just don't get it, right? You'll have this during earnings season because what you're doing is you're marrying your technical analysis, right, with some type of fundamental catalyst. And so if you are, like, for example, yesterday, right, the market's open and you weren't trading, right, you weren't trading things with PRs like your solar stocks and something like that, you probably underperformed, right? And so why was that going? Because they've had an, insane amount of PRs and press releases come out the last few days. And so you want to be focused always on, right, names that have, right, some type of catalyst out there. Some of the first trades we took yesterday, right, were in these like SSRs and, right, then later on in these NNEs. And this is because, right, you have the sector momentum and the PR. What's up, Edge? AG, what up, baby? So just kind of keep that into mind. You should always be hunting around for PRs, press releases. Now, it doesn't mean you got to sit there and read through them, right? Just go through, right? Run a little pre-market scan, put a couple filters on. You don't got to do much. And then just start flipping through like anything that's moving around pre-market. Minimum 50,000 shares in volume. But frankly, you do need a lot more than that in today's day. When I started trading, you could have a lot less liquidity in names and still be able to get in and out easy. If anybody remembers, like 10 years ago, stock could trade like 1 million shares a day and you could get out in and out so easily. Now you have stocks that trade 10, 15 million, 20 million shares a day in volume, and sometimes they're illiquid, and so just like a little, caveat of what's happening in the market, with the algos and, whoever else, right? Hey, so like, see this NIX over here, right? You got this big pop on this. Guys, you're probably going to see something like this. You're probably going to see something like this every day. And the reason you'll see something like this every day is because that one stock, what was it, drug? When you go bananas like that, what happens for the subsequent handful of days is that, you end up every single PR, the pumpers are coming into pre-market and saying, oh, this is the next drug, right? This is the next drug. This is the next drug. So you're going to get a subset of, you're going to get a subset of these kind of names that will move up. But I mean, personally, I'm not What are you supposed to do with this thing, right? You can buy it up to 100%. Dude, there's other things you can do. Like, frankly, if you're going to waste money, just send it to me, right? Like, you're going to waste money, send it to me. I'll put good use of it. In my younger days, I would have, you know, bought some hookers and blow. Now I would be, I would do something else with it, but don't do it. Don't do it. Like, see, they're all just popping up in the pre-market. Look at this Pixie, 174%. So you're going to have, if you're a small cap trader, this might be your time to shine, but they're already all gapping up 200%. Like, what are you supposed to do? And you can already see, right? They're pushing them and they're all fading. So you see these big fat monster cocktails. That's not going to work, right? Like, that's not going to work. So you see all these tails here. So everybody's pumping these things already and they're already rolling over. So just got to be mindful. You don't need to necessarily do anything with these. Gevo, man, this thing's been a turd forever to pass. All right. Hey, so this actually did have a piece of news out that probably is worthwhile. It doesn't trade like a pump and dump, so you'll be able to get in and out a little bit easier. They announced a deal with GM for some kind of financing, and essentially the amount of the investment is basically their whole market cap, right? So they're going to invest 625 in some joint venture. Dude, this is a $400 million company. Like, you could get probably some follow through on something like this. So you got yourself a little doohickey here. Now, you can't chase this thing up 10%, right? You can't chase this thing up 10%, but wait for a pull. If you like smaller names, that's the one. Now, TSM, Mr. Larimore, how you doing? Let me see those abs, baby. Send me a pic right now. Let me see them abs. I swear. Pick for pick. Now, test. This is the key for today, right? If this holds up, and it probably should due to the level of breakout, dude, we're going to have ourselves some fun. We want to, if this holds up, and it will, right? We want to start picking off semiconductors one after another today. So you want to have all your favorites all lined up. And then what you want to be doing is, right, you need to be ranking them from order of, you want to be ranking them from the order of chart, right? So, obviously NVIDIA is already at breakout, right? So we're nuzzling right up on this thing, right? So this is probably, right, going to be a focus. This is going to be a focus because you have this, right, sweet spot right here, right? Your secondary focus is probably going to be AVGO because you got also right at the sweet spot, right? And then you're going to have a little bit of offshoots of this, right? ARM is the best mover out of the group when there's really, really heat because it's probably the newest out of, kind of the batch, at least in terms of, right, the market. It's a recent IPO. It trades a little bit thin, but I would say that, right, you got a little bit of a flag pattern over here. This is number trace. Trace means 3 for you, for the unlettered, my friends. All right. Now, then you have Qualcomm after that, which it trades like shit, but it's got the level here. And then, the dark horse is always going to be this MU. You got test. And the other thing is it just recently had an earnings pop, all right? You recently just had this earnings pop here, and then it's been just marinating and digesting here. And so you're testing back into this earnings range, and it doesn't really matter how you draw it. Guys, trend lines are kind of all bullshit anyways, right? You just draw them to look cool in front of your trader friends, right? It's like when you go to the gym and you're like doing squats, right? Like only the dudes are looking. Same thing with trend lines. When you draw the trend lines, only the dudes are looking. So you got this thing. It's a breakout. It's technically at 114, but I don't think it matters. I would consider it's at breakout, right? Like it's at breakout in this market condition. So how do we play these bad boys, right? So first of all, this one you probably need a pull. Like you can't just come in you can't come in and chase. This is a $1 trillion company. You can't chase it up 16 points, right? NVIDIA's got a 3% open. It's resting here right in, dude, it's resting right in the pre already. It's already building out a level. So it may go if it breaks the pre-market high because you have a level here. They may just turn the algos on. But the big hairy Indian but is that it would be a lot better if it pulled, right? If it can pull back into the EMAs, you're going to have a much better spot. So what I mean by pull back to the EMAs, this is the go-to setup for this type of when you have a big gap and you have some level of news that's come out, right? What you want to do is let them pull back into the EMAs, right? The 920 zone, right? The bone zone, the zone of love, right? That's where you want to go and then, shred this thing back up, right? That's the easiest kind of way to go about this. Now, offshoots, right? Offshoots of all of this. So obviously we watch TSM, then we go down the list, right? We're hitting the NVIDs. The NVIDs, right? The NVIDs are going around. Then we are going with AVGO. Then we are going with the ARM Nation. Then we're going to go with the MU and the Qualcomm. All right. These are the main ones. Now, look, there's a million other semiconductors. What about Kakalak? What about this one? What about that one? Don't worry about the what about game today, right? Just they're all going to move around for the most part in the same manner. So don't worry about the move around of what about this, what about that. They all are going to have similar juice. All right. So keep them on a list. Now, offshoots of all of this, right? Offshoots. So secondary plays that have to do with semiconductors, but they're not semiconductors is, you're right, we can come in on this SMCI. Look at the beautifulness of this, right? Hold on, let me switch chats. Dude, that's hot, right? So you testing. This 50 is the spot, right? It don't matter, once again, how you draw it. It's a beautiful. It's got a good God-fearing Christian look to it. Like that's where you want to be on this for the secondary type of plays. Now look, this one also has a good range on it. It typically moves, lately it's been moving 7% a day in ATR, 7.13%. But the ATR has been compressed because it's been stuck inside a range. So once you break the range, the ATR will tend to, right, unflutter a little bit and expand. And so you can get the ATR to expand. So now you've got this thing. If you were a swing trader, right, you're kind of putting your stop under the near support. And then, but if you're a day trader, we'll hit this thing on an ORB or the first pullback and we'll be good to go. We don't got to do too much on this. It's juicy. It's juicy. It's saucy. It's got it all, right? So we got all of this fun stuff that we ready to shred. Let's keep this on the watch. The next secondary play is probably Dell, right? So Dell, let me redraw here. Dell 130 is a spot, right? 130 is a spot. So if you look long term, it's a little bit of a butterface, right? But it's a little bit of a butterface, but you've retraced, right? You're coming back, and so you got a little bit of a W pattern that's setting up over here. If you break this level out here, hot damn. Dude, that's nice. Real nice, my friends. This is where we want to be, baby, right? This is where we want to be. So now we got ourselves a little hoot nanny, right? A little party in the pants. Loving it. So now let's repeat this back so nobody forgets. We got these handful of semis. Then we got the offshoots of the semis, right? Things that'll just move with it. SMCI, Dell. So we're done for tech. Like, you can play what about Meta? What about Microsoft? What about this? What about that? But I think this is where you kind of focus in for now, right? Because there's other things that we've got to do. Now, beyond that, right? These nukes have been hot. So you got you got gap downs in all of these, right? You got gap downs in all these. Now, when I trade a stock, and dude, I had my nuts on this one for a second yesterday too. I sold it over here to go to the beach, and it kept going. Mother suckers, dude! I'm so lazy as I've gotten older a little bit. It's going to be opening back down into support, so we'll see. We'll see if this holds. Right, SMAR, same thing. Like they need to have bigger pulls now. Yesterday, I wouldn't say it was the blow off because they are clearing out some levels, but like yesterday was a little something, right? Like I think probably they need a little bit of a rest. Look, this Aklo was 9, it's at 17. They need to pull back now. Frankly, if they had gapped up today, I would have shorted them. I would have shorted all of them. They did it, and so I think it's a leave alone for now, unless they have a deep pull, right? If they have a deep pull, then I think we can, dude. I think we can get into something. All right, let's keep an eye on these, but they're level seed for today, right? Unless they get some big pulls, I don't think we want to do anything with yesterday was probably the day of days. Now they're going to be in play today. Like they're going to move around a lot, but will they move around like yesterday? No, right? That would be pretty hard, right? So a lot of times when you get these big pushes, like you can have a big range. It could be down 10%, rip back 15%, be down 8%, rip back 20%, like that kind of thing. But like, is it going to just be like all linear and beautiful, right? Probably not, probably not. Now, this NNE has only had 1 day worth of move where the other ones had a lot of days worth of move. So, maybe this one's got a chance, but this one's had a lot of hit pieces against it. There's a good chance that this stock is just a big gelatinous piece of excrement. All right. Now, beyond that, let's see what other kind of PRs we have out here. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything. Dun, 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 dun. Hey, by the way, if like NVIDIA is like a little bit too expensive for you, I know, you know what? People used to never care about how expensive a stock were because they knew basic math. Like whether you have $100 stock or a $10 stock, if you put $10,000 in it and it goes up 10%, you make the same money. But people are not as good as math anymore because of, I don't know, the phones. Who knows, right? The phones, the Adderalls, the Xanaxes. I don't exactly know. But people are not good at the basic mathematics again. So if you just want to trade one of these semiconductors, but it's too expensive for you, not that it matters, you can go in with NVDL, right? NVIDIA has a bunch of these, right? So NVDL, a little bit cheaper, half the price, right? A little discount for the friends. I think there's NVDX. And this one is cheap, right? And it does actually a decent amount of volume, 10, 11, 20 million shares. A lot of times when you have these ETFs, they do nothing, right? They do nothing on these. So just be a little bit mindful. This one actually probably is tradable too. And if you notice though, it does trade a little bit smoother. It does trade a little bit smoother than the old Navid sometimes, which it might have like almost too much range, at that price range for some. So you can trade one of these. They'll move a little bit smoother. Danny, what are you watching? This BA, what do you want to do with this? Like, to me, I see a trend down and then, a little bit of a lack of liquidity on this name. And if you look at how it trades, it's like kind of, when they're just like zigzaggy like this, how can you capture that? So it's not necessarily just about the stock, right? It's how can I capture some gains out of this, right? How can I capture some gains out of this? I think when you see this, because we're day traders, right? If you were an investor, then the short term fluctuations don't matter. But as a day trader, like when you see like, and it's all for like $1, right? It'd be like, it's one thing if a stock is just like moving like this, but it's like moving back and forth like 20%, and you're just like this ninja, and you're like, bam, snipe, boom, boom, boom. I just rocked 10%, 5%. Yeah, all right, right. But if you are doing it for like a point and you can't really capture the same ways, you would be stopped out of pretty much every play. I think, we find something better. Hey, Meta's sitting here. So, Tarun just asked, is Meta okay? Meta's sitting right here on the 20 SMA. I mean, there's a good chance that it probably, starts drifting its way back to the 600. Yeah, my only thing is it's more like use of capital. Where do we want to put it today? Because everything is hot. Hey, PLTR has had a nice push, and then, dude, you got this kind of pull back into the bone zone. You can do this one too. Faux show. Good. Now, look, going back, let's just regurgitate so we don't mess this up. Because this is big, right? We're going to have TSM on the watch list. NVIDIA is number 2 because it may just take off at the open. It may take off at the open a little bit, right? Oh, man. We got the ARM. We got Flagzilla. We got the AVGO, right? Break out the highs. We got the Qualcomms, right? A lot of people like AMD. I think it's a little bit in no man's land now. It had an awesome move in the morning, so good for that. But it's in a little bit of no man's land. For me, I'm not interested because it's under the 200-day moving average, and like everything is flat. We were talking about the Goldilocks zone, right? Where like kind of all your MAs are the 9s above the 20, which is above the 50, above the 200, right? That's not where this is. And so it's an unneeded stress. And you know what? I noticed this with my own trading. Like, when I jump into these kind of names where they're like all the MAs are flat, the results are always very mixed. Like, sometimes like, fuck, like, why didn't that work? That's why it didn't work. Like when you're day trading oftentimes. So just kind of keep that into your head a little bit too, right? Good. Hey, Mr. Larimore, you should come back into class. We've changed a lot of things in the many years since you've been back in boot camp. You should come back. It's new and improved. Good. All right, now let's see on the downside if we got any news plays that are worth a damn. Chunk. Hey, these Chinese stocks are just bleeding off. I don't know what's going on, but we've seen this a few times. Everybody's been asking me about these Chinese names. We've seen this a few times in these where, the Chinese economy is in a big shit show anyways, but they're just kind of bleeding off, but they happen a lot in gaps. And so, we've seen it a few times where they've like kind of been pumped for a little bit and then they just bleed off. And this might be, I don't know if it's just a lot of bag holders in it or what, but I've seen this now over and over. So I think it's probably just a leave alone. The gaps are huge on it too. It's kind of they're just bleeding off. It's like, how do you trade this? Like, it's very oversold now, but like, what do you do? Like, where's the bounce spot? And, we've seen this, like, this thing gets pumped. It's $30, goes to 75, and then boom, it's all the way back down. And it always does this. Like, it just get pumped and then they just bleed off. And Baba's been like this too. So I don't know exactly how to read into this, but, like Baba's 68. It runs the mid 90s. Then it just bleeds back off. And you can see over here, it was 59, runs the 120, and then just bleeds back off. I don't know what to do with them. Frankly, they're oversold. My head says that these are big breakouts on the daily chart, right? They're big breakouts on the daily chart. That's what my head says, right? That's what the playbook says. That's the whole ball game, right? Oh, good. Mr. Larimore, go on the homepage of Bulls on Wall Street. Tell Kevin, we're in class right now. We're always in class. So tell Kevin you need the links and stuff, and he'll add you into the back end LMS systems and stuff. He'll do it in like 2 seconds. Like you can see here, right? Big breakout setting up, but this is not an orderly pullback, right? It's like it's $32. Now you're at 19. Like maybe we get a little bit of a bounce here, like when it retests. But like we don't want them to retest this much. Like, so when you look at the nature of pullbacks and what's buyable, what holds, typically a low volume orderly pullback is the way to go. And so when you see orderly pullback, right, it's like something that's like kind of pulling back, right, in magnitude and duration, more like that, right, not that, right. So just like a little bit of a little bit of something. So I don't know what to do with these. Like same type of deal, right? It's like you wanted the pullback to be in magnitude and duration, more like kind of here. Does that make sense? Not right? The vertical up, vertical down never works. And so just something to kind of keep mind of as we go through this. We got to have ourselves a little bit of something that's just better, right? So I think we're going to be fine today. A couple stocks to put on if you like a little bit of a cheaper name. This Wolf Nation, they secured $2.5 billion in financing. It's been left for dead. It should be $140. You got a huge amount of volume accumulation that's happening here. I'd watch for any pulls on this, any pulls on this. If you like semiconductors, but, all the other ones are just too expensive, or whatever it might be, this thing has been moving around. Fantastic. You can roll with it. I like this AMSC also. This is it lacks a little bit of liquidity. It might be more of a swing trade than anything, but I think this probably gets picked up too. And we should talk about space before we go. Space has been hot, which we already know. RKLB had this awesome trend. Dude, I mean, when you see something like this, right? Even if you're new at trading or you stink, it'd be hard to mess this up, right? It's like you pull back into the EMAs, all right. You have a nice trend on it, sweet. Pull back into the VWAP. Like it doesn't move around that fast, but by the end of the day, it kind of does, right? So you have yourself like you got all sorts of goodies on this, right? So they're trading very clean right now too. So I think we want to keep these space stocks on the watch list. There's a whole host of these, beyond just RKLB. This RDW's got a big breakout over here. And we're right here. We're at the breakout, right? It lacks a little bit of liquidity, only does 900,000 shares in volume. So probably a little bit more of a swing trade. I wouldn't chase it up here, but, let it kind of back and fill this area a little bit. I think you'll be okay. RKLB, this PL is another one. Lunar, and then the actual company Space, right? Space Galactic or Virgin Galactic or whatever they call it. This has got a nice breakout on it. Now, look, it's a little bit far from the 9 EMA. Ideally, it rests for a day. Let's this EMA catch up here, right? Let it catch up here, and then I think it'll be ready. Keep it alert at 740. If it can clear it, look, it doesn't really matter, 740, 730, right? These are all just kind of zones of interest. It ran right into it yesterday too, so that's going to be probably the spot where we want to go. Saidu's been a turd. And then, look, this ASTS came back from the dead, right? It kind of marinated at 22 for a while, remounted the 20 SMA. Dude, Bryce, you had this on your watch list the other day, didn't you? Then bam, right? Awesome range, awesome liquidity, 20 million shares, not too much of a spread. That's where you want to be on some of this stuff too. Hot damn. Oh, man. We're getting in it now, right? We're getting in it now. So RKLB, NNE, not NNE, ASTS, RKLB. Keep both of these on your watch list, for some day twos. And then, later on, if this space goes, it needs way more volume than this, right? So I'll keep it volume alert. Keep a volume alert, and then keep a price alert around the 740. If you're trade a smaller account or something like that, this could be like a good little swing trade for you. Same thing with something like this Bumble, right? If it ends up clearing out over here, you can't day trade some of this shit because it only trades 2-3 million shares in volume. Not really, our particular flavor, but the big hairy Indian butt is that they're good. All right, cool. So let's just get a little bit organized here, right? We got TSM. We got the Navids. We got AVGO, right? We got the ARM Nation. All right, we got the MU. So that's your first 6 windows, right? So you got to, and then just bring these out into your other monitors, right? Then the second 6 windows. Whoa. Oh, whoa. Hold on here. What the fuck? No. All right, your second 6 windows. You want to go in SMCI? Oh, yeah. The Dell Nation. Qualcomm. And then, yes, you can go. And then we need a couple of these. Keep the nukes on a side list in case they pull back decent. You could definitely go with Cell H also. But my worry on this one is it keeps getting rejected at this 35. So I would let this thing clear before I touch it because it just keeps getting rejected there. So it needs to absorb some level of supply that's probably hanging out there. And if it can, then, dude, we're in for it, right? If it can, then, dude, we're having ourselves a little bit of fun. Good. All right. That's the list, guys. I'm sticking to it. Crypto also looks good. Coin needs a breather. Mara sucks to trade, but it's there. The level is there. Let me get rid of all these lines. It looks like I have a dick fetish, right? Looking giant Rorschach test there. You got a spot here, 18-ish. It does suck to trade, but you can do it. The options on it also are very cheap usually, and it's been stuck in range, so they should be extra cheap. Usually when I trade Mara, I just do the options on it. Then you get a little bit of extra oomph. If it goes 50 cents, you still are banked a little bit. And then MSTR, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 days in a row, kind of retesting into the 9 EMA post breakout. I think this should hold, and watch the over under on this 200 if it can go. That's hot. All right. That's the list. I'm sticking to it. All right. Let's go out and do the Lord's work. I'm hopping into Discord room. I'll put the Zoom link out. If anybody ever wants to join, we got free trial to our chat room and all that kind of fun stuff. I'll be on the Zoom doing what I do. We sing, we dance, we tell jokes, and sometimes we even do some trades. I love you guys.